All right, welcome everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Does that sound all right? Is that how it's supposed to sound? Okay, yeah. Welcome everyone. My name is Rick Keefer. I'm sure some of you know me. No, like a lot of no, yeah. So we want to welcome everybody to Fluvanna's Candidates Forum. It has literally been years, probably almost 2 decades since we've had a candidates forum that we've had here in Fluvanna, where we invited all the local candidates running for office to come and meet with you, the public, to hear from you about your thoughts and your hopes and your dreams and what you had for dinner. I mean, we'll leave that part off, but everything else you can still talk about. And then giving them an opportunity to hear, to share their vision and what they hope and what they plan for the community. And so certainly we welcome you first and foremost. So thank you for coming out. We definitely want to make sure we do this in the future as well too. We want to thank our candidates as well for those people who did respond and provided us background information. This is a nonpartisan event. This is not, we're not endorsing any party or any one candidate. So all candidates that were running for offices here within the town of Ellicott were invited, and especially here in the Fluvanna area, but really for the whole town of Ellicott, they were all invited. Some candidates didn't respond, and there were a few candidates that also declined. You'll find more information. You should see a booklet over there. It says Fluvanna's Candidates Forum, Election 2023. For those of you who are online, we are going to post this as well. And so you can, read through this later, as well. But we want this to really be, the sponsors of this event, of the Candidates Forum, wanted this to be really educational. And we think it's of uttermost importance to a democracy, to a representative republic as we have here, in the United States, that we're so blessed with, that people are an informed citizenry, that they really know. That's a hard word to say, citizenry. That we really know who the candidates are, we know what the issues are, and that they know what the people want. But that's hard to do when you don't know what is a town, and what town does Fluvanna belong to, and what exactly does a town supervisor do, and things of that nature. So you'll see here in the booklet, it not only provides background information that the candidates provided themselves if they provided background information, but it also gives a little bit of a snippet on local government and where these people fit into things. So we do want you to make sure that you take a close look at that and go from there. We do have some ground rules for the event, which, I know certainly our moderator, who I'll introduce here in a second, will, kind of do a couple highlights for this. We definitely want to make sure we keep things civil, that we, not that there'd be any chance with this crowd of, getting it too rowdy, I'm sure. But or maybe there is a chance, so I gotta say it. We want to keep this civil. We definitely want to focus on issue areas, not on personalities and not on people, but we also want you to truly share, your thoughts and your opinions. This is your time now to let them know, what you're hoping from the community. Before I introduce Tom, our moderator, though, I also just want to make sure that we thank our co-sponsors for this event. We have Fluvanna's United Neighbors, which is a nascent neighborhood association that's forming here in Fluvanna, really here to support the community and all the organizations here to bring it a closer knit community here. So I think that's a great thing. And all the not-for-profit organizations here in Fluvanna have made sure to throw their support behind this as well, too, that this is good for democracy, that we're educating the public and we're bringing people forward. So thank you. You see the names listed in there, and make sure to thank the candidates. So before we get started, let me make sure that I introduce our moderator, who is Tom Spanos. I'm sure many of you know the family name. Tom is a native-born son here in Chautauqua County on the Ellery side of the house, for those of you who are on that side of the road. And it is literally that side of the road right over there where it's at. So anyways, we're thrilled to have you here. Thank you so much. Tom practices as an attorney. He's just moved back, well, I guess a few years ago from Colorado, which is a dream of mine to live there. But this is really my first dream is here, and then it's Colorado. So anyways, Tom, thank you very much. And you can take it away. Thank you. Everything good, Candie?
Everybody. Apologize. I hope I'm coming through okay on this mic. I just want to thank all of you first for coming out today. Ricky said that this is really important, of course, for you to get to know the candidates for these positions. But all the more important, like he said, is having an informed populace. So all the kudos to you for coming out this evening to take part in this event. So how tonight's going to go, we're hoping to have a very good time with all of you and the candidates. We're going to start off. I'm just going to give a brief intro. We'll then have an opportunity for each of the candidates to give you a little bit of an intro, 2 minutes of themselves, and maybe a little bit about why they're looking to be in the role that they're running for. And then we'll kick off our Q&A session. We do have some questions that we received online, but of course, I'm going to give priority to everyone who's able to come out here tonight, but we are going to try and intersperse some of those questions from online, because you never know, people just might not be able to get here for various reasons. So we want to make sure they're heard as well. But yes, like Ricky said, we do have some ground rules. He covered them generally. Let's keep it nice with everybody. Let's try and keep it on topic. If you're asking a particular person a question, be sure to try and tailor the question to what their role actually is. They only have so much power here in the town, so let's not expect them to move mountains. Let's try and keep it on point for them. And of course, we will be keeping time. Your questions, let's try and limit them to 90 seconds. There will be timekeepers, so please keep an eye on those.
That's going to be Cindy.
Oh, Cindy is going to be our timekeeper for everybody. The candidates.
Show them the signs and.
Yes, right. So keep an eye out for those signs, and we'll try and keep things moving along, so everybody who wants to be heard can be heard tonight. So like Rick said, tonight we're going to be covering a lot of ground. We have, let's see, 8 different positions and candidates for those positions who are here this evening. Fabulously, we have somebody for each position,
Yes.
but we only get one for each position. We only have one spot. No, the rest were invited. They decided not to come for whatever reason it may be. So I encourage you, if we cover a topic today that you're particularly interested in, you should pose that question to the other candidate as well, who's not here. Really keep the dialogue going, so that we can be the most informed people that we can be. Now we have, as I said, 8 different positions, but only a few different types of roles. So we have the town supervisor, who just briefly, they fill a few different roles in the town. They help run the town board meetings as the presiding officer, and they are also a town board member, so they get to vote on those things as well. They are also our town executive, so they have to follow through on whatever it is that the town board passes, and they're in charge of the finances and how things are spent here in town. So that's what our town supervisor does. We have Todd Beckerink with us tonight. We'll have him give a 2-minute intro, and then we can move on to the next position. So let's welcome Todd up here so that he can.
First of all, thank you for taking the time out of the evening to come down here tonight. Once again, my name is Todd Beckerink. I am a Town of Ellicott resident my entire life. Grew up in Falconer, graduated from Falconer. After college, I went to work for the Town of Ellicott Police Department. I retired from there, then went to the Chautauqua County District Attorney's Office as a senior investigator. While a police officer, I worked on the county forensic team and was one of the assistant managers during that period of my career. After the District Attorney's Office, I just most recently accepted a position at the Falconer Central School as a school safety advisor. I'm a 19-year veteran of the Falconer School Board. Last 13 years, which just ended last August, 13 years I was the board president. In the last 12 years of that, we had a 0 tax increase for 12 consecutive years when I was the board president. I chaired the finance committee, the audit committee, contract negotiations, facilities. So I feel that I have the knowledge and the ability, and we're running a $24+ million budget at the school. And we're able to hold the line on taxes, never cut a service, never cut a teacher, never cut a sport, nothing. And continue that for 12 consecutive years with a 0 tax increase. And I applaud my colleagues from last year on the school board. Currently, they've done the same thing for this year. So I look to bring that knowledge and ability to the township if elected. And I feel that I can do that as far as the finances and being the chief financial officer of the town. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Todd. Next, we have our town clerk position. So what exactly does a town clerk do? Now, the town clerk is also a member of the town board, but importantly, they are a non-voting member. They are more of an administrator for the town board, but they're also in charge of many permits, licenses, and things. So you'll often have to interact with the town clerk if you need to get some town business done on an individual level. So I know as an attorney, I have to interact with town clerks all the time. So it is a very important role, especially when it comes to business that you'll have to be doing with the town yourself. So for this role, we have Adrienne Swanson, who's going to be running for this position right now. And she'll be coming up and giving us 2 minutes, an introduction of herself, so we can hear a little bit about her. Please, welcome her.
Coming tonight. My name is Adrienne Swanson and I'm your town clerk candidate. A little bit about me. I am an area lifelong resident, graduate from Falconer schools, also Jamestown Community College. I have worked in the healthcare field under some high stress situations. Also have some legal experience where collecting and processing data accurately is very important. I have over 20 years of providing excellent customer service, currently at the National Comedy Center as the operations supervisor there. I oversee the daily operations of 2 museums, the staffing, the training, that also does include scheduling and budgeting. I also manage the food and beverage and as well as the volunteer coordination. So I wear a lot of hats at that facility. My reason for running, after learning about the board's decision to eliminate one of the judges' position and how it was decided, I was very concerned. I began to look into other issues and sat in on a few board meetings, monthly board meetings, and did raise some more red flags. So then I asked myself, how can I get involved? So this is where I landed, throwing my hat in the ring for the town clerk and accepting the nomination. That's where I am. I feel I can offer the town of Ellicott residents solid leadership, legal expertise, and a new era of transparency, accountability, and honesty in the town clerk's office. So by casting your vote on November 7th for myself, as well as the Renew Ellicott team, you'll be sharing in our vision for a more transparent, thriving, and safe town of Ellicott. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adrienne. Next, we have a very important position. They're all very important positions, of course, but I have to say that as an attorney about the town justice, because of course, town justices cover such a broad range of matters for their towns. And as it mentions right here in the packet, they have to be on call 24 hours just in case something comes up. And they really are there to make sure that our justice system works, even at the local level, for all the things that you might need, including, vehicle and traffic matters, small claim matters. They can see all sorts of things. So I want to give our wonderful justice here, Honorable Marilyn Gerace, an opportunity to come up and tell you a little bit about the role that she has been doing for you and how she's hoping to continue doing it for you in the future.
And welcome, and we appreciate this opportunity. As introduced, I'm Marilyn Gerace. I am your elected town justice for the town of Ellicott. I've had the opportunity and the privilege and the honor for serving in this capacity for the last, this is 32 years now. I'm a lifelong resident of Chautauqua County. I moved into the town of Ellicott. I married my husband in 1985. We purchased property in the town of Ellicott. I've been living in the town of Ellicott since 1987. I have a long history of experiences in the criminal justice system. It's always been criminal justice for me. My path has always been dedicated to criminal justice ever since I can remember myself as a little girl, imagining what I wanted to do with my life, and it's always landed in the area of law. So I have a I graduated from JCC from SUNY Fredonia. I've got my master's degree in criminal justice. I did some postgraduate work. I served as a paralegal, worked in the law office. Started working at JCC in the year 2000. So while working as a town justice, after raising my children early on, I was elected in 1992 and that's when I was 12. So I just wanted to put that out there because, you know, so it's been a wonderful experience. There's a lot of hard work that we do in the court system. There's a lot of more work that we need to do in order to keep our justice system up and running and just as much as we can to make sure that we are representing the constituents in the town of Ellicott on the level and supporting those. And not only the people that come in front of us, but also those that are all of you that expect so much from us. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Justice Gerace. Now, we're going to be going through the different wards and covering each of the town council positions just in order. So first and foremost, like Ricky said at the beginning, what is a town, right? Our town is for anybody who lives outside of a city or an Indian reservation in New York, right? And the town, sometimes called the township, is responsible for all those municipal services that you would expect. Public safety, roadways, health, recreation, and utilities. So these are the things that your town provides for you, right? And these town council people are the ones who are responsible for making sure that those services meet the needs that you have, right? So this is an opportunity, of course, for these town council people to tell you how they hope to do that in this position as a town council person. And in that role, right, what does the town council do? It's the general legislative and governing body of the town. That means they make the local laws that govern all of the things that they're allowed to, right? We have state laws, and then we also have local laws, which are going to be passed by your town council. So the people that you pick for these roles have an impact on how your community works, right? They adopt a comprehensive plan after lots of input from all of you. They enact local laws, as I was saying, called ordinances. They hire employees for the town itself. They establish the budget. What are they doing with your money, right? And ensure the town government carries out those duties and provides you the services that you expect. So there are 4 town council people and the town supervisor as voting members on the town council. The town clerk is also on there, but as I said before, they are a non-voting member. So as we get into the wards themselves, let's see who's looking to fill these roles. In our first ward, we have James Rensel, who is running, and I'm not going to get into his bio. I should let him do that. So let's give him 2 minutes up here. Let's give him a round of applause.
I wanted to take exception with Mr. Spanos, just on one word. When we get in public service, we're often looked at as, oh, you have power. I retired after 32 years of service in the Chautauqua County Sheriff's Office. I still work part-time in the courts. You have my bio there, and I'd be glad to answer any questions. I want to use my 2 minutes to talk about what brought us here today, what I think. I don't like to use the word power. When we're public servants, we have responsibility. And when I would teach in the academy, I would try to get that message delivered to police recruits. Don't act out on the street like you have power. You have responsibility to people, okay? Not power. What brought me here tonight was, and like most of us here, the way the judge elimination went down. I'm still involved in law enforcement. I'm still involved in public service. And I did not hear about it through the grapevine or anything. It was just something done, and there it was. And I found that disturbing, and that I wouldn't have heard about that still being in the field. So I was many people were kind of upset about it. I was approached about running for a position in the town, and I embraced that. So I found myself with what we have here is a politically diverse group of people that coalesced around open government. We believe that we serve you. We are responsible to you. And we have to tell you what we're doing. And we have to be open with what we're doing. So that's what brought me here. And I met many of these people I knew all down the line here from being in law enforcement. And some people I just met. And we've been a very good working group together to meet the citizens. I'm over in Ward 1 across the way over by the west side of Ellicott. But I walked around with Mr. Lamantia over here in this area, and I recognized some faces from knocking on doors, and that I had to stop, right? I look forward to answering your questions. Thank you. Thank you.
Very good. We're already getting some passion up here at the podium. And I just want to absolutely agree with Mr. Rensel's correction. I agree wholeheartedly. Everybody in public service, including myself right now, we have responsibilities to all of you, right? This is all about making the community a better place, regardless. I mean, just by taking part in the elections themselves, I think everybody is serving a good role for the community, regardless of which way any of the elections goes. So moving on to Town Council Ward 2. Tonight we have David Lamantia with us, and he's going to come up and tell us a little bit about himself and maybe why he's here this evening as well. So please welcome him.
Hello, many of you already know me, but for those who don't, I am David Lamantia. I'm running for Ward 2, your ward around here for Ellicott Town Council. I have lived in the town for 38 years, raised 2 children, and plan to live here the rest of my life, as long as that may be. But I became involved in local politics, as many of them did, when the current administration tried to eliminate one judge position, which would have been devastating to our town. We need both justices. We have them still, and we'll continue to have them. Since I've been a candidate, I've learned of many issues that really could have been handled in many better ways, in my opinion, to better serve you, the residents. I'm a retired designer and building contractor, so my experience in construction will be very helpful in my decision-making process as town councilman. For example, I've taken a great interest in that water tower issue at the airport. To my knowledge, it's beyond its usable life, but the current administration decided to go ahead and paint it anyway, instead of looking for better alternatives. I'd like to revisit the whole situation and explore more efficient alternatives before agreeing to continue this project for what is now just under $1 million. They can be better spent, I think, on smaller things like the bridge going into Fluvanna. That is essential. I mean, Bentley Avenue is fine, but it's not made for highway traffic. I've also taken great interest in the Fluvanna Meeting House, and especially the project we're trying to undertake to redevelop the adjacent acreage into a town park that was once a park and is deeded for a park. And for the life of me, I can't understand why the current administration wants no part of this. But I would certainly take my position to bring this park into being, if at all possible. So I hope you have my support and our whole team on November 7th. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Now, moving right along, so we get to know everybody, we're going on to Ward 3. And here we have Stephen Seibart, who's running for the position here. And he is I want to thank him for his service. My brother was in the Marines myself, so I always have to take that moment and thank you to everybody and for their service in law enforcement. So Stephen, by all means, please come up, tell us a little bit about yourself. Everybody, let's welcome him.
Thank you. My name's Steve Seibart, and I'm running for Ward 3. I've lived in Ward 3 for approximately 40 years now. I'm a retired law enforcement, Town of Ellicott. I served in the military for approximately 22 years, retired at the rank of captain, and was at ground zero for 3.5 weeks for 9/11. Was in the jungles of Panama, and also a Cold War veteran up on the Czech border. So just and a lifelong member of the American Legion, that served as a county commander for the Legion, and also at the local post level for a couple of years down in Falconer, post 638. So the reason why I'm here and to get involved, my life has always been around community service. And like my other fellow running mates, that the issues of the current administration at the township not being an open government. Everybody should know exactly what's going on about issues like what they did with the judge. There should have been a public referendum, how our money is spent, and just other issues on and on. As taxpayers, voters in the township, if you come to a meeting, your voice should be heard. And I've seen at different meetings where that's not the case. So we're all in agreement here that that's what we want, is a more open government so people are more informed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sykes. And moving on to our last ward, but very much not least, in Ward 4, we have Daniel McNeil running for the position, and he's going to come up and tell us a little bit about why. Let's welcome Daniel.
Hello, everybody. Thank you again for coming out tonight. And honestly, my ward, Ward 4, that I'm representing, some of you might be a part of, I kind of have the north end of this district. A few of you, I might have even knocked on your door yesterday. A big part of my run has been my mission to reach every single door of every voter possible. After yesterday, I am over 500 homes. I still have a couple hundred to go. But really the important thing is who am I to you guys? Obviously, there's a great deal of experience and, knowledge of these folks and they're part of the town. My name is Dan McNeil. To give this short story, I live on Palm Road over the way. My day job is I'm a school teacher at Falconer High School. I teach high school history class. And thank you very much. A big part of my life has been dedicated to public service from the very beginning. In my younger years, spent time volunteering in the Boy Scouts, did the 4-H thing, spent many years in volunteer fire service. In fact, my dad and my uncle are really the big reason why I got involved with that. My dad was a chief. He is currently still a commissioner out in the town of Stockton. My uncle Tim actually served in this very fire department and is one of many, many connections I have to Fluvanna that I really care dearly about. Including my 10-year marriage to my wife, Caitlin, who is my Fluvanna girl. And, I've seen members of her family here tonight and obviously some of her neighbors. And I'm really glad to be part of this effort here. And really the big thing I want to kind of emphasize, aside from, obviously who I am and, what qualifies me to run for this position, is to emphasize a lot of the points that we were made up here before. And that is that you this year, for the first time in 30 years. I heard 1992 earlier. I wasn't quite 12 then, but the idea was saying for the first time since 1992, all of these positions, for the most part, are challenged on the ballot, and it gives you, the residents, a choice. And hopefully that choice values character and it values the experiences of this great group. I can't say more than enough about them. They are one of the most terrific group of professionals that I will ever work with. Thank you. I look forward to your questions.
Now, that is all of our town council positions, but we do still have one more position that's in the running this year, and that is for the Chautauqua County Legislature. Now, our county, of course, is much bigger than our town, but it's a division of the state itself and has different responsibilities than the town. So it's somewhat of an extension of the state, and our county legislature is the legislative body for our county. So they play a similar role to the town council, but instead at the county level. So this for this position, I'm pleased to welcome someone who I've had the pleasure of working with in the past, and he was quite wonderful then, Kurt Gustafson, who's going to tell you a little bit about himself. So let's welcome him up.
And is Tom's doing a great job tonight or what? What a thrill it is to be here tonight. I mean, just to be working with these folks, to see community involvement tonight. Rick, thank you so much for bringing everybody together tonight. This is really a truly special night and a great opportunity for you to get to know the candidates, figure out what in the heck we're doing running for public office in this type of climate that we have going on today. But as a lot of my colleagues have said here, we're doing it because we care. We care about our communities. We care about the eradication of open government. We care about the potential loss of a judge in the busiest town in the county. So it's just some things going on there that really spurred us to get involved and take a little more of an interest in our communities. So again, Kirk Gustafson, I live over directly across the lake from Town Line Road onto Southwestern Drive. I'm a lifelong resident of the county, grew up in Lakewood. My dad was a union carpenter. Mom was a school teacher's aide over at Celeron before they merged at Southwestern. So I've had the privilege of serving in public service for my adult life. I am an attorney. Thomas and I are advocates. So one of the things that I get to do in this position, hopefully I'll be elected, is advocate for the citizens and the residents here in Ellery, the villages of Falconer and Celeron and West Ellicott. I have 19 years of experience in the county attorney's office. I worked with county executives Thomas, Edwards, Horgan, and Borello. I think I got them in the right order. I was right across the hall. So I had the privilege of serving as the parliamentarian for county legislature meetings in the absence of the county attorney. I presented to certain a few committees, legislative committees. So at this point, I'm hoping to be on the other side of the table now, listening to the department heads. So I formed great relationships with a lot of people at the county. Several have moved on, so they're different people, but I really enjoy the interaction with people, my advocacy, and thank you for your time tonight.
Of what we're dealing with this evening. So we're going to get into your concerns, your questions, your thoughts for everyone who's up here. So probably the easiest way for us to go about this is to raise hands. So if somebody has a question or anything, please feel free to raise a hand. Otherwise, I'm happy to take a look at the questions that we've got from online or get into some basic generalities with the candidates. But does anybody have a pressing issue that they would like to touch on with the candidates this evening? Yes, ma'am. Making Old Fluvanna Road into a dead end. Okay. So we're going to check in with the town supervisor and the different town council people who have an opportunity to potentially vote on this role. We'll just go down through the different positions and each one of them will get 90 seconds, I believe it is, to respond. So let's start with Todd for the town supervisor position. 90 seconds, sir, on closing the Old Fluvanna Road and making it into a dead end.
All right. What was brought to our attention is on February 13th of this year at a town board meeting, Mr. Pickett, who's the highway superintendent, advised the board that the bridge at the end of Old Fluvanna was in need of repair. It said it would need to be repaired within a year. So in this September, at the town budget meeting, Mr. Pickett brought up the fact that he would just rather close that bridge than not put any money into it. So based on that, that's what we know right now. Based on that, all the years that I've spent on that school board doing budgets and putting finances together for the school, it's taken me months and months and months to work with committees, to work with our administrators, our business official. This current town board did their entire town budget in 32 minutes. So this is the kind of stuff that we're hearing at these board meetings. And that's what Mr. Pickett's response was. His response at the budget hearing would not be on record because that wasn't an official town board meeting. And that's all we know right now. So you go and ask them the question at the town board meeting, they just look at you, shrug their shoulders and say, foil it. That's what we know, and that's what we're beating our head up against. So those are things, that road cannot be closed. That road cannot be closed. I mean, if you turn around and close that, I mean, from the fire service and the police service, that road can't be closed. That'll force all that traffic up Bentley, and that's gonna be a service.
I think
Lamantia.
he made a comment that Bentley.
No, there's no way. There's no way. I mean, when I was walking down there, going door to door, talking to a couple of people about it, and they were just like, what? I'm like, this is what's going on at your town board level. So that's a big reason why myself and every one of these other candidates have got involved in this whole operation. So I was told to stop.
Thank you, Todd. I know we know where you stand on this now, and I know it's an important issue, which is why we want to make sure that we have time for everybody to get to it. So James, why don't you come up and tell us a little bit about your position on the bridge, where you stand on, we're going to go through everybody in each ward. So please, if you want, you don't need to take all 90 seconds if you don't want to.
If that was a message there.
Yeah, I've been in Chautauqua County my whole life. I know the Fluvanna area. I grew up, over on the other side. I'm a graduate of Panama, but I found myself over on this side of the lake. I know that area, and I had an opportunity to walk your neighborhood with Mr. Lamantia and the rest of the team. And I couldn't believe that was like on the table to close that road. I mean, like was said, from a public safety point of view, from a fire department response point of view, doesn't make any sense. So, I'm not for that, I guess that's the way to put it.
Thank you. It was not an instruction, but I very much appreciate his brevity. We'll get David's perspective on the potential for closing Old Fluvanna. Just a minute for you, or 90 seconds, whatever you want.
I don't really have a lot more to add to what's already been said, but honestly, it's gonna be approximately $200,000, I think was the number that was thrown out to fix this. That's a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money. We have a $4 million overall town budget. So I'm sure we can squeeze money out of somewhere to save that. It's just ridiculous to consider that that would even be a possibility of closing that. I mean, there are ways around it temporarily. We can go out to the side and build a little temporary entrance up to Fluvanna Avenue, the old new Fluvanna Avenue, I guess, temporarily while we rebuild the bridge, but that has to be. That's all.
Very good. Thank you, David. Stephen, do you have anything that you want to add about the potential for closing the bridge?
Just as a retired Town of Ellicott police officer, more than once, I was down here in the Fluvanna area answering calls with the fire department. And I agree wholeheartedly to try and close that. Makes absolutely no sense. It would be a nightmare for EMT services, fire and police.
Well put. Well put. And this is probably working more fluidly. So Daniel, I'll stay right up here, but by all means, feel free if you have something you'd like to add.
Yes.
Absolutely. Please, by all means.
I know this community well, and I know this bridge very well, because I've been across it 1.5 million times, just like many of you have. Something from that meeting that really, I took a lot of notes of this meeting. School teacher, I guess, is kind of a part of that, but a part of that effort in trying to address this bridge, the first thing I noticed was that our town highway supervisor mentioned in the spring that bridge actually had failed the county inspection. Were any of you made aware that inspection failed at that particular bridge, and you probably drove across the bridge many times in between? I don't even know. I don't live down here, anymore really. But was that bridge closed at any point for repairs or anything like that? I'm guessing probably not. And repairs were made, past inspection, and that's an important thing. I'm glad, the town highway department was able to take care of. But something that was addressed in that meeting was that for a few consecutive years, the town had applied for a specific grant to get that bridge replaced. And as mentioned, it's about $200,000. And it almost seemed as if after 2 years of applying for this grant, we're going to give up on it. Clearly, the state's not listening. We're not going to continue to pursue it without really valuing how important or used that bridge is. It's kind of a disappointment. And just the fact that this year we've had a number of interesting topics of cut spending here, save spending there, that happens to be one that's an outlier is unfortunate, especially for this corner of the community that really values that particular bridge of all things, right? So thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. And now I know there's another very pertinent issue, so I want to touch on this just to give Justice Gerace an opportunity to talk about it. But the issue of the town justice and the potential removal of one of the justices came up before, and the town justice is one of the few positions on here that we have somebody here, but they are running unopposed. So we thought it would be a great opportunity for you to learn a little bit more about what the town justice does, and who better to tell you about it than the current town justice. So please, by all means.
Thank you. Thank you again for this opportunity. The town justice position is a very difficult one, and it carries a lot of responsibility. We handle thousands of cases every year, which include criminal and vehicle and traffic. And our caseload has only increased considerably over the last few years, certainly. COVID, we really took a hit with COVID because we were literally in some months shut down, which prompted a backload of our cases. And so we really did, I give my court clerk, Caitlin, so much thanks and for the time and energy that my clerks put into, along with, Judge Jarzinski and myself, to really kind of get up to speed again where we needed to. So we're operating where we need to right now. With the elimination of the town justice position, which I'm not sure if many of you heard, and I only have 90 seconds, but Judge Jarzinski and I were sent an email on the eve before it was posted in the Post Journal, an email from the town supervisor stating that it was in the best interest of the town and our constituents and cost savings that we eliminate a town justice position. It had already been voted on. It was a done deal. That is how we heard. That took a really huge toll on a lot of what we've been able to realize here. With an elimination of a town justice position, it would put extreme burdens on just one justice to be able to handle all the cases. I'm sure you've heard about criminal justice reform, the bail reform. We have taken significant hits. We're all about public safety in the court system. We're all about public safety and can really taken into consideration what we need to do to keep our court process running in an efficient and effective manner, not only for the people that we serve, but the attorneys and the services that we provide to our people. This would result in slower case processing, elimination of one judge. The speed at which the cases are heard and resolved will likely decrease due to the reduced capacity of the court. Increased backlog. I just mentioned that. The impact on the individuals, the delays and the inefficiencies in the legal process, the overworked court staff with only one judge handling the workload of two. There's a potential for increased stress, burnout, the decline in the quality of the judicial decision-making process. We're committed to uphold the highest standards of ethics, transparency, and accountability. And we recognize the immense responsibility placed on us who serve our community and administer justice fairly. And in the face of, we understand budgetary constraints. We really do at the town court level. But we have always strived year after year after year for 30 years, 32 years that I've been doing this. We have never not met our budget, never. And we will strive to maintain our steadfast dedication to our values, seeking creative solutions to enhance our efficiency and to reduce costs without sacrificing the integrity of the court system. So, like I said initially, I'm very honored and privileged to continue in this role. My job is not done. I think I'm very passionate about this. And I think there's more good things that we could do in our community and in our court system. And that's why I keep going term after term after term. Our work is not done. We have a lot more really important work to be done in the court system. So thank you for allowing me to serve in this position, which I just love so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Justice. Now, I know, I'm sure there are many of you who are also interested in hearing the perspectives. Does anybody have any particular questions about the town justice position or how things have gone you would like to hear from the candidates about? Any other questions that people would like to ask here in person? Any issues you guys would like to touch on while we have everybody here? Yes, sir.
Maybe Kurt knows this. Wasn't there an agreement that the county was going to assume responsibility for bridges?
Please, by all means, Chris.
Yeah. For the mics, can you repeat the question too for the people online?
Yeah, the question was, does the county have any responsibility for bridges? Is that your question, sir?
Yeah, I thought I remembered that there was a trade-off, that the county took bridges off of the township.
Yeah, I've been out of the county government for 5 years, so I'm not sure what the current status is. But, you know, I know that there have been shared services arrangements. So the best way I can answer your question is tell you from a legislator's perspective that if we want to close a bridge or if there's been a proposal to close a bridge, then hopefully they would let me know, hey, Kurt, we have an issue here. They want to close the bridge. What can you do at the county to help out? So I know you're shaking your head here, but there are certainly possibilities for the county to be involved in helping with either shared services or funding. So there are different arrangements that can be made. It's a case-by-case basis is what I want to get to. So if we're aware of a situation where a community or there's been a suggestion to close a bridge, I would hope that one or all of them would say, Kurt, we need your help in trying to save this bridge. And then we would look for any opportunities to save the closing, to look for possible funding. The county's sitting on a $37 million fund balance right now, which is a lot of money. So I'm hoping that the county would be able to assist with some type of assistance. It could be a loan. I hope it wouldn't have to come to that. But you would think that, you know, with the people involved, the residents being involved, saying, hey, this bridge is important. And then we've heard from a public safety aspect, the community residents will be impacted. You know, this thing shouldn't be done in a vacuum, which apparently the decision's almost already been made. Just close it because we want to save some money. We don't want to spend 200 grand. That's not the answer. So is there a part of the question that I missed there?
No, that's okay. This is probably goes back too far, and I'm not taking a position for or against. I think you need the bridge. But I had understood from Steve Abdullah that there had been an agreement in the past whereby the county took some responsibility off the townships.
Yeah, and what you're relating to is certain of the town highway responsibilities. So there are shared services agreements in place for plowing and things like that. So at some point in time, and I believe you're right, and I'm not sure exactly what the parameters or requirements for that under the town law, or, you know, it could have been a bridge weight type of a decision too. So there's a lot of legal type stuff involved in those decisions, but the county definitely could be involved in a local bridge issue. That's what I want to say. They could be, but the big thing is I would be your advocate to keep the bridge open.
Thank you. Daniel wants to take an opportunity to jump on this. Let's take 30 seconds. Daniel, please.
That's all I need. Thank you. Just to kind of piggyback on that a little bit, just specific from that budget meeting when they mentioned the bridge, there was no mention at all whatsoever if the town was cooperating with the county or reached out to the county in order to get support in funding that bridge project. That was something that was left out. And in fact, another thing that was left out of the conversation involving the county was this water tower project, which I'm sure we'll get some questions on here in a moment. So thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Now, we're going to get into some of the questions that we got online as well and make sure that we're touching in with everybody who's here. So we're going to start off with Adrienne, actually, and ask, what is your view of open government? Right, very broad question. If you want to come up, you can take 1 minute to try and talk about that and how you hope to play a role in open government as the town clerk.
Open government. So to me, that means all are involved. No matter where you come from, what you do, your voice matters, and we want to hear you. So that's what that means to me. Open government. A door is always open. As the clerk, come on in. I'll take questions, find you answers. The door is always open. So that's kind of where I stand there. What was the second part?
Oh, just you've already answered it. So very good. Thank you. And I want to pose the same question to the town council people. So we'll start off with Stephen. I know he didn't get to say as much on the last round about it, but Stephen, do you want to come up, take a minute about what your vision is of open government and how you would, as a town council person, try and show that in the position?
Open government means to me, as I said earlier, that you're all taxpayers and members of the township. So your voice matters, but even more so that what the administration does, that their actions should be known. It should be talked about. The meeting should be taking place and the public informed, just as well as their inactions should be addressed so that we can move further and get further resolved. So it needs to be open all the way around. Thank you.
David, open government.
Sure.
Very good. 60 seconds for
60 seconds, okay. I've got that. By utilizing open government, we'll invite commentary and input from residents in the town of Ellicott on issues before we come to any conclusions or votes on our own. Right now, it seems that the current group just doesn't invite a lot of that. They do a lot of their decisions without any input from anyone. We also plan to hold meetings in various locations around the town to encourage attendance by residents to make it easier to get to our meetings. Certainly at the meeting house, for example, be a great place for it. Here, Celeron would be a great place, just everywhere in addition to the existing chambers in Falconer. And all of our meetings were broadcast on Zoom, so those who cannot attend in person can easily attend virtually. And those meetings, of course, can be looked up another time at your own time. And we'll make our email addresses public to encourage questions and comments to all the residents. So if you have any concerns whatsoever, you can always get hold of me or anybody here. That's open government.
Very good. And just so you all know, of course, we're broadcasting this. I believe there will be a recording of it, right? So we can hold them to what they're committing to up here as well. So when they say that this is what they want to do for open government, we have the tools, and hopefully they said that they want to use the tools as well to continue that. So let's continue up through the wards. James, by all means, please come up and tell us about your view on open government.
I'll try to do it in a minute. I have an example of.
Nothing to worry about.
I have an example. I'll try to get it done quickly here. I had a question for the town board about the signs, political signs going up early. So I made that known at a town board meeting. Hey, I see signs going up early. The ordinance says 7 weeks before the election, your signs shouldn't be up. I have signs to put up. I'm not putting them up. So the last meeting we're at, during the privilege of the floor, I asked about the signs. And during that meeting when I brought up the signs, one of the town board members agreed with me. Yeah, those signs are up early. I agree. It's against the ordinance. Last meeting we're at, the town board said, well, we have someone here to address that issue with you during the privilege of the floor. Privilege of the floor is for the public, not for you to make your argument points as a public official. A person who appeared to be under duress because they didn't want to stand up and give their address. We all gave our address when we're speaking, but he was a retired code enforcement officer. He said, well, you know, there is a town ordinance regarding signs being up 7 weeks before an election, but the Supreme Court has determined that that's not enforceable. So we don't really pay attention to that. So I'm thinking that's your argument, that's your case, that's your answer. You're just ignoring it. And we believe as public officials, we hold ourselves to a higher standard. We're responsible to the spirit of the law is you'll follow the ordinance, or hey, as public officials, we can change the ordinance, or we can ask you, do you want to change the ordinance? So that was an example of if you're going to call in a retired code enforcement officer to speak during the privilege of the floor, why aren't you putting that person on the agenda so that when we read the agenda for the meeting, we'll know we're going to be treated to a retired code enforcement officer to talk to us about sign ordinances. No, that wasn't done. That was perverted the privilege of the floor that is for us as citizens, and to engage in an argument and win an argument. If your answer to the argument is it can't be enforced, so we're ignoring it, that's sad if you're a public official. So as far as open government goes, if you're going to invite someone to speak on sign ordinances and when signs should be up, put it on the agenda. That's open government. And then we'll all know when we read the agenda, oh, we're going to be treated to information regarding signage. Maybe we have someone we'd like to bring in too to speak during the privilege of the floor. So that's an example of open government not being observed and respected when you're using the privilege of the floor that's for the people to make your point to win an argument, but you don't bother to put that person on the agenda that he's going to be there. That's perverted open government right there.
Thank you so much for your perspective, James. And of course, we still have to get to Todd and Daniel and see what their positions are. Todd, by all means, come on and tell us about your position of open government.
Thank you. I'm going to piggyback a little bit on what Mr. Rensel said. At the February or March meeting where the town board voted to do away with a judge. I'm not sure if many of you know how a board meeting works. You go into executive session to discuss basically legal or personnel matters. The laws are pretty strict on why you can go into executive session. And if you're going to have something on the agenda, you have to approve that before the meeting starts. So you're going to have additions or deletions to the agenda. Okay? So that particular board meeting, there were no additions or deletions to the agenda. The board made a motion to go into executive session to discuss whatever they were going to discuss. They came out of executive session and one of the board members, I'm not gonna say, you guys can look it up online, it's all there. One of the board members made a motion to do away with the judge's position. Another one seconded. They all voted in favor. Aye. Completely wrong. Completely illegal. You cannot do that. If you're going to have an addition to the agenda, it must be stated prior to the board meeting started. You stand up, you do the pledge, any additions or deletions to the agenda, nothing, you move on. You can't come out of making an addition in executive session to the agenda. That's what they're doing, and that is not open government. That is non-transparent. And I was appalled when I read those minutes that way. But this is what we have got going on in our current township. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Todd. And of course, we want to hear from Daniel on this as well, his view of open government.
I guess I want to start with just the fact that people really appreciate kind of the decorum and professionalism. That really, to me, is kind of an important characteristic I look forward to seeing in leadership, and something that, you know, we've been to many meetings this summer, and obviously town board meetings aren't the most exciting event in town. They're sparsely attended. You often walk into these meetings, you know, my wife and I, Caitlin, have been to many of them. Many of these folks have been there as well. The atmosphere is very cold. It is very standoffish, and an open government has to be accessible and it has to be responsive to the needs of the community. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, that's what these officials are elected to do. And, you know, a big part of that, just to kind of reverberate here, what Dave was saying, is offering opportunities to allow this to be accessible to the community has to be a priority, because otherwise the community gets left out in the dark about some of these major decisions, including the one unfortunately made about the judgeship in the spring. In fact, yesterday I was talking to a resident, an older resident that lives up on Gertz Road. I came in, she was nice enough to invite me out of the rain. It was a cold, rainy day yesterday. And I was mentioning to her, you know, hey, you know, this is something that our board really wants to commit to. We want to be able to provide an opportunity for citizens to be able to interact with their government and view these meetings in a video conferencing type of format. And she immediately said, where do I go to sign up for this thing? She was looking for like a link, which I said, well, the current town government doesn't have that, but if you chose us, obviously that would be a priority that we would make, obviously to make it accessible for the community. And something else I feel that's pretty important too is that the current town board meeting schedule is something that we should seriously consider looking at and adjusting, because our schedule right now aligns on the very same exact day as some of our other meetings across town. In particular, for myself and Steve, it's the same night as the Village of Falconer. I see Mayor Jasinski here. Thank you for coming. But would be really helpful if your town board members are able to attend a village meeting, are able to attend a village fire board meeting. Some of these other important, you know, organizations that need to be paid attention to definitely need to be accommodated for. And I think that's something that we should be looking into as well. Thank you.
All good. And I don't want to leave Kurt out. I apologize. Kurt, your view on open government, how you'll do it at the county.
Yeah, I'd just like to comment on something that Mr. Beckerink said about illegal conduct of the town board. Actually, town public meetings are governed by New York State law. So it's the executive law. It's called the Public Officers Law, Section 89 of the executive law. So that actually requires meetings to be conducted in certain ways, to have an agenda, what you can and cannot do to go into an executive session. So this group is certainly concerned about the town violating the public officers law. So that's a concern. You know, my district, District 15, and the town of Ellicott is very unique in its geography. So we've got the city of Jamestown in the middle. We've got Falconer on one side. We've got Celeron on the other side. We've got Fluvanna on the top. So I love the idea of going around and hosting town meetings in different locations. So if the fire department would like to host a meeting, we would absolutely love that. Open government is giving the people an opportunity to participate. Participation is huge. What you guys are doing with the fun grassroots level advocacy and support and just community renewal and interest is fantastic. And we want to highlight your achievements and your accomplishments and maybe use that as a model for other communities to get some more community involvement and to make positive change.
Well put, Kurt. Now, there's one question here that I think is really good for Todd to touch on, which is from our online list. Historically, the districts of Ellicott have felt fragmented and disconnected. How do you intend to unify the town? And as the town supervisor, of course, at large for the whole town, I think that this is the perfect question to pose to you. So please, by all means.
All right, I believe some of you folks are at the meeting at the Historical Society building. As been mentioned before, is I want to hold these town board meetings, not just in Falconer. I want to have one in Falconer that month. Next month, we'll come to here. The next month, we're going to Celeron to get these people involved. All right, to listen to what our community members are saying. Obviously, do it online and let people get involved. I've ran probably almost 3 years, 2.5 years of board meetings at the school, chairing the board meetings as the board president, and we had to go to online. And I'm going to tell you why. We've never had so much participation from parents and taxpayers until we went online, where it was very difficult because according to our agenda, it says that the public comment's always first. Okay, so I'd start the meeting and I would tell people that we're not going to make you not ask a question. They could type it in. And then we're going to continue on with the business of the district. Then once we're done, now I jump back to those comments. And the people were very appreciative of that. And there's nothing saying that we can't do that here in this municipality. All right. Now getting back to being like, bring this township together, is this entire group had the chance to go to talk to the Falconer Fire Department. Went to the Celeron Fire Department. Nobody there knew who their town supervisor was. Nobody, I asked the president of the Celeron Fire Department, when was the last time a town board member or the town supervisor contacted the Celeron Fire Department to sit down and have a meeting, let's talk. What can we do for you? Yada, yada. They've never contacted us. The current administration of the town, Falconer Fire Department's a little bit different than Fluvanna, and Celeron's a little bit different from everybody else, but Falconer has what's called the Fire Advisory Board. And on the Fire Advisory Board, there's members of the fire department, there's members of the Town of Ellicott, and there's members, I believe, of the Village of Falconer that all sit on the Fire Advisory Board. Okay? This current administration has never once met with the fire department. They're the ones that propose the budgets that the town has to pay. Our current town supervisor has never met with them. She's going to turn around and say, well, I sent the town clerk and the highway superintendent. She's right. But they're a non-voting member of this township. So they can go to the fire advisory board meeting and say, well, this is what they're saying. Okay, I'll vote in favor of that. They have no voting power. The people with the voting power are your board members and the town supervisor. So I can guarantee you that at Falconer level and Celeron and Fluvanna, I ain't going to meet with these folks. Because these folks are the movers and shakers of our community. Okay, and if I can't make it, one of the other wards members are going to go to the fire advisory board meetings or whatever it is. But that's another way that I want to get this township back together. I'm so tired of East and West Ellicott, Fluvanna and Celeron. It's like the Mason-Dixon line right across that lake.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, even when I was employed by this township for 23 years before I retired, it was so unique. It's like, why do we like this? Why do we like this? And it was kind of weird graduating from Falconer and then going to college and getting hired at the Town of Ellicott. You know where I thought the Town of Ellicott was? Up by the airport, because that was the only sign I ever saw. So these are things that I want to get this community back together. There's a lot of great things that we can be doing, like the fun group in that park. God, I can't believe the town doesn't want to talk to you folks about that. But there's just a lot of great things that we can do, and I feel those are some of the ways that we get back together with this community. Thank you.
Fantastic. This actually brings us to another really wonderful question from our list online that I'm going to touch on with almost everybody. How would you communicate with your constituents if you were elected into this position? So we just heard from Todd. We'll come back to him, but we're going to go through almost everybody. We'll start off with Adrienne and give her an opportunity to talk from the clerk's position, how she'll engage with all of you.
In a digital age, that would be the go-to first to communicate agendas, meeting minutes, that type of thing. Online access, pretty much everybody has it and can do it. Also newspaper. Yeah, I mean, the newspaper. How many of you still read the newspaper? Yeah, there we go. Okay, post your old like that. Keep that circulation going. So that really is it.
Very good.
Okay.
Very good. And James, how would you like to communicate with the constituents if you are elected to Ward 1?
I had, in my bio there, I was a trustee in the Village of Falconer, and then I subsequently was mayor of the Village of Falconer. And the way I communicated with people was they were welcome to stop by my house if I was out raking leaves or mowing the lawn. Hey, I saw you out. They pull around and stop, and I stopped what I was doing. They walked on my lawn and we talked about what their situation was. That's the major one, is accessibility. My phone number, having my phone number available to people, that's not a problem for me. I recognize what public service is, and when I was full-time in law enforcement, my number was available to people that I was responsible to. So they felt free to call me to run things by. I always have a notebook in the back of my pocket. One of the places I saw constituents is if I'm at the grocery store. That's where I meet constituents, and if they have an issue, they will come up, and I invite that. I don't try to avoid that. I recognize what my responsibilities are. In addition to what was mentioned earlier. Any way you can communicate is good communication. And you, as a public servant, which is what we are, and we want to be elected to, you can't ever be too busy to talk to your constituency, and their problems are your problems. So we try to change that from problems to challenges to be addressed. All right. And I'm not saying that I'm a person that's always, even when I was mayor or trustee, that I always agreed, but I always listened. And I always gave my opinion and why I had that opinion. And I'm not saying I agreed with everybody I had business with, but I didn't avoid them. I communicated with them. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, James. And continuing on, I know it's very similar to the open government question, but I think it puts a different spin on it. How would you, David, how would you communicate with your constituents if you were elected? How would you want them to come and communicate with you?
Well, I'll just talk from here. It's, I've already been contacted by so many people. You know, I have the space that you can't miss. And people recognize me everywhere. I know a lot of people in town, but I've stopped at the grocery store, I've stopped in my driveway. I've gone door to door now to several hundred houses in my ward, meeting with people. So I'm making myself very accessible. If I'm elected, as we all would like this, we will certainly set up a common email address for all of us so that you can easily email questions to us from any time of the day or night. I'm not opposed to giving out my private cell phone number. I'm already on call 24/7 anyway for my other projects that I work on. And call me anytime and give me any piece of your mind you'd like to share with me, because I'll bring it to the board at the proper time and we'll discuss it all. There are a lot of other issues that I know that people are very interested, like the pet control or the feeding of the animals problem in town. I've been contacted by my neighbors in West Ellicott because that's an ongoing issue there. So these are things that we all get in. We have to address these things. So,
Thank you so much. Stephen, would you like to add anything? How would you like to communicate with constituents?
Just to reiterate, as everyone here was saying, accessibility is a big thing so that everybody would know we're accessible, whether you see us wherever in public, the phones, the call, the emails, to connect on Zoom at the meetings, and just whatever works for you. If you think it's important enough to come and talk, then your voice will be heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel, communicating with constituents.
It's kind of interesting topic just because my job requires an extreme amount of effort and engagement, especially with children working in this community. But just to kind of put the spin on it from what we've talked about, the big thing I want to emphasize with communication is that communication is regular. It is constant. In fact, many of us have taken the approach in this election. I don't necessarily have the facial, kind of ability here being recognized like David does, but in getting out door to door and meeting people in my community, it's been one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. Honestly, it's gotten me the ability to learn far more about this community than I ever would have expected. One of my favorite things in going door to door is each and every place I go to, whether it be Gary Levant, whether it be up on Palm Road where I live at, down here towards Fluvanna, I was on Moon Road and Town Lane Road yesterday, is talking to people about how long have you lived here? And I've had people tell me that I've been here for 15 years. I've been here for 30 years. I had one guy that told me I've lived here for 70 years over on Madison Road, which to me says people really care and love this place. And obviously trying to encourage folks to, have the opportunity to express and kind of share their thoughts and concerns should be a priority of this board. And I look forward to taking all these measures, giving out personal contact information, cell phone, email, and making efforts, obviously, to reach out to the community. We mentioned the examples of moving our meetings around. I think it's going to go a long way, and including more people as part of the conversation. And more importantly, not turning the cold shoulder, being warm and welcoming, being good neighbors. It's what it's about, honestly. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Now, we're gonna have a pointed question for everybody. Oh, yes.
I'd like to be able to communicate with my.
Oh, so. Communicate with your constituents. I'm sorry, you won't get to, no, please, by all means, Kurt, 1 minute if you'd like to talk.
I can do this in 15 seconds. The county assigns email addresses and a dedicated phone line to all legislators. So you can find me online, stop by 28 Westminster, say hi, come on in, have a beverage, and I'd love to continue any conversation that we had.
Perfect. Now, for everybody running for town council and the town supervisor, we do have a pointed question from online that I think people would want to hear about. With reports indicating that $1 million is being spent to paint a water tower at the airport, which is nearing the end of its life expectancy. And I don't know the facts about this, so this could be incorrect and I would have no clue. I apologize up front. How do the candidates view this expenditure? How might you handle it differently? We'll start at the top, Todd, and we'll go through each of the wards.
First of all, you're correct at the 1 million. It's just shy of $1 million. First of all, we'll go back to this March meeting again, where the town council and the town supervisor stated that cutting a judge was a financial savings of $14,000 to the town. So I stood up in the public comment and said, if $14,000 is going to make or break this town, we got more problems than that. So now we get to the water tower. Mr. Pickett was trying to explain, I mean, it was very brief and trying to catch up on this whole thing with the water tower. He says it needed to be painted, we're required by the state and the county, and if we don't, we're going to get fined so much a day. It was just going on and on and on. And he says, well, the steel is so thin that you could push your finger through it. So I'm thinking, why are we spending $1 million to paint this thing? Well, let's look at those assets and turn around and say, well, can we put in a new pump station in? Can we do something to service, the airport or the fire departments? Or I don't even think there's any houses up there on that. But whatever it is, there's got to be an alternative to $1 million for paint. And what's going to happen next year? Going to fall down? I mean, paint's not going to hold it up. But no, to me, it's ludicrous to spend that kind of money. I think the avenues need to be researched some more to see what else it can be done up there, the water tower, whether it's, like I said, put in other infrastructure and do what we got to do. I mean, I get the water's necessary, but that's putting a Band-Aid on it. It's painting and helping. That's about all I have to say on that one.
James, your thoughts on the water tower?
Yeah, the thoughts of the water tower, most of what I learned about the water tower came from my fellow candidate, Mr. Lamantia, so I'll let him share his information. But something I wanted to hear about the water tower, and it's difficult to hear a lot when meetings are 15 minutes long and like 8 minutes of that is the privilege of the floor. So I would like to hear at these meetings, I did a lot of traveling back and forth to Buffalo in my career. There's a Hamburg water tower. I know there's a water tower in Tonawanda. I'd like to hear what other people have done with their water towers and hear a little bit of maybe background work that's been done on other water towers in comparison to our water tower. I don't get the sense that that's been done, or if it has been done, it hasn't been shared with us because I've been listening very closely. And Mr. Lamantia has done quite a bit of research on this, so I'm not going to repeat what he's told me because that's where my information came from. But I was kind of curious about the other water towers that are not necessarily in Chautauqua County, but Erie County, up in Niagara County. It'd be interesting to hear what other people have done with their challenges regarding their water towers, rather than not hearing that. I have to believe that they did background it. Thank you.
Thank you, James. And of course, now Now we have much anticipation of what David's going to tell us. Since we have so much information about the water towers. Please.
I have Exhibit A. It's the part of the notes from the 6/12/23 regular town board meeting notes. It's the paragraph saying basically that Highway Superintendent Pickett received information from the engineering regarding the water tank to accept the low bid from utility service company in the amount of $956,800. They're also a change order that they're not putting in, they're painting the tower. They accepted this, but they're not putting in cathodic protection, which will keep it from rusting further. They're not painting the lower inside part of the tower. So why are we even painting this at all? Interesting to note too, that when they passed this, they passed it with 3 ayes, 0 noes, 2 absent. So show up and at least have the guts to vote your conscience on this. And at the last meeting, and I want to go over my time, but at the last meeting, I asked them, I don't really know enough about this project, you know, as a taxpayer here to understand it thoroughly. Are there engineering reports? Did you do studies? How long have you been studying this? The only answer I got was from Councilwoman Bowman saying you'll have to FOIL it, which means I have to go to the Freedom of Information law, submit a form and say, I want the engineering reports. I want more information. She couldn't just hand it to me. She couldn't just say, well, come by the office. I'll give this to you, which is interesting. Again, open government, we don't have it right now.
Very well put, David. Stephen, if you would like to touch on the water tower issue.
I attended a lot of the town board meetings where they were discussing the water tower. And at one point, they were talking about that this company that they were paying this money to do the work was saying the township hadn't paid them yet. And if they didn't pay them so they could get started, that they were going to sue the township. So they were all in a hurry over that. So the following month, I asked them, okay, so because they're talking about it and this company hasn't started any work yet. And I go, all right, last meeting you said that the money was paid. Why haven't they started? If they were going to sue you, don't you think you should sue them for not keeping their part of the contract? And basically it was kind of fluffed off and they went off into executive committee. And that was the last of it. Thank you.
And now, Daniel, your position on the water tower, how you might handle it differently.
Just to mention what Steve was talking about here with the project not even being started. I drove by yesterday, the water tower, took a picture of it even because I want to remember it someday when it's gone. Project has not started. There are no signs anywhere of that project starting, and I would assume at this point it will probably be delayed into the spring, which is kind of a frustrating factor of many as part of this debate. I too was a part of many of these meetings regarding the water tower, and something that I found interesting, aside from, well, if we paint this thing, there's no guarantee the next year it could absolutely fail due to the fact that it is past its life expectancy. It was one, the idea that our town really hadn't exhausted all resources in discussing with the county some options for trying to figure out how to pay for this tower. Primarily it services the airport, it services some other entities as well. But I would think that the county should have a pretty good amount of responsibility in helping assist with that project. I feel like that's something that maybe could have been pursued a little bit further. Something else worth mentioning too is that in the first meeting, it might have been the May or the June meeting, when we had the opportunity to address that particular issue of the water tower, we were told by Bob Pickett, our town highway supervisor, that the town could be fined each and every day that they don't, get this project going, get the project going. At that meeting, we did not get a dollar figure. By the next meeting, the town board once again had the opportunity to kind of revisit that topic. And they mentioned that it would be somewhere in the ballpark of tens of thousands per day that they did not approve that project. Not sure if that number is real or if that was just one that they wanted to come back with. But the fact is, They mentioned at first that this would be something that the town would have to pay for. And then that second meeting, when I got that response, they mentioned that, well, actually, it's only going to be the 5 entities that use that water tower that will have to pay for it. It will not be the taxpayers. Are you guys aware of one of those 5 entities up at the airport that uses that water tower? The fire department, which is a taxing entity of our community, and to me is a very misleading way to approach that issue. We will be paying for it. And last thing, I know I'm out of time, of the 2 ward representatives that weren't there, the airport just across the hill to the backyard, basically, of our current representative was not present. They could have tabled this, but they chose not to and pushed it forward anyway. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andy. Now, I don't want to neglect all of you. Of course, are there any final issues that anyone would like to touch on? Yes, ma'am.
Election, so you won't do. Yep. So in 2 years, you get to elect someone. Yeah, 14,000. Got a big raise. Starting to see the light.
Things together.
I wasn't gonna say it's not that, but you got it.
Sir, yes, one more.
Attorney responsible for keeping this process.
I am. Todd, you can talk.
This, well, let me know when you want to tap out. Wait till you get. Well, wait to the town attorney.
I may go over my time in this.
You can have my time.
Okay. Back 5 years ago. 5 years ago, when I was the school board president, James Rensel was the mayor of Falconer. And at the time, the current town supervisor was Pat McLaughlin. Okay. The city of Jamestown BPU and Corporation Council attempted to annex property in Falconer. I was served papers. Mr. Rensel was served papers. Mr. McLaughlin was served papers. And the Falconer current superintendent was served papers by Corporation Council of Jamestown. Speaking on behalf of the school, the BPU at that time, 5 years ago, was paying $158,000 a year in school tax. So the 3 municipalities, we all got together. We've been fighting this and it's still going on. We beat them once and it's going back again. So City of Jamestown has a change in their regime of mayor. At the time, it was Mayor Teresi. Mayor Sunquist comes in office. Does not bring back their corporation council attorney representative, Marilyn Lehman. Does not bring her back. Our current town supervisor takes office 2 years ago and hires Marilyn Lehman as the town attorney. So that I got an extremely, extremely gut ache over. That the person that sued our township is now representing every one of you in here. She and the town have been questioned on this. And the town supervisor's response is, well, she's not involved in these questions or she's not involved in the communication. Well, I'm here to say she is, because on their agenda, they were going into executive session and it stated to talk about the annexation hearing. So they go into executive session, and who's in the executive session? Mrs. Lane. I like Marilyn. I worked with Marilyn for years at the district attorney's office, but it's just not clean. So you're talking about representation by our town attorney. I don't like it right now. I'm being honest with you. I do not like it. She still has DNA on her from the city. I don't know how else to put it.
I'm sorry, I have a question. I mean,
Yes.
I don't know anything about her suit,
Mhm.
but why is she not allowed to sue?
She can sue. Okay, but now she can't represent the party she sued.
Conflict.
It's a conflict.
Party she sued for was what reason?
The city of Jamestown, BPU, is attempting to take over property in Falconer, the annexation of the BPU substation.
Right?
Okay, she's the attorney that represented BPU to file the lawsuit. She served us
Against the town.
against the town.
Okay.
Down the village.
Wasn't, but it was.
So now,
Good.
when the new mayor took over Jamestown, the mayor gets to hire their corporation counsel, I'm assuming if they want, or how, I'm not sure how it works in the city of Jamestown. So when Pat McLaughlin resigned, Mrs. Bowman was appointed town supervisor, and she appointed Miss Lane as now the town attorney. So that's still in litigation. It's still being fought. And I know from the school perspective that we've paid about $600,000 so far in legal fees fighting it.
Wow. That's 3 bridges.
That's just the school. That's not the town. That's not the village.
That's 3 bridges.
Yeah.
But as far as legal representation, I don't know. They don't tell us anything other than the fact that she was questioned by a resident about why she was in the executive session, and they said, we're not talking about it when it's on the agenda to be discussed in the executive session. So, I mean, it's just, in my opinion, it's not clean, not transparent.
Thank you, Todd.
Yep.
Thank you, Candie. Now, if anybody has any very brief questions, hopefully, yes, ma'am.
Because I'm feeling very out of the loop in all of this because I don't pay attention.
Yeah.
When
That's
do
why you're here
they-
tonight.
Do they advertise, I'm sure it must be listed somewhere, when are council meetings held? Is the agenda pre-published so that all of us know what's going to be discussed at that meeting?
Those are usually the practice. I'm not familiar with how Fluvanna, I assume they put it on like the website or something.
The information.
You have to go to the Town of Ellicott website. You can go to the minutes and it'll say the agendas for the upcoming meeting. They're 5:30 Monday, was it first Monday?
First Monday.
First Monday of the month and 5:30.
And this is also one of the agenda issues that they were talking about before is so important because those agendas are meant to serve you, the public, so you know what kind of business is going to be covered at these meetings, right? It's your notice, right? And so that's why it's important when these people are committing to you about, we want these things to be on the agenda. It's because they want you to have an opportunity to speak up on those issues and even know that there's going to be discussion on those issues happening.
We want
So-
that information to be accessible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So any other final quick questions that you guys have for the candidates? Then we'll give them a couple minutes to close up. You, sir.
I just want to say, thank you guys, Ronnie, we need you. We don't know what's going on anymore, and I'm very thankful for each one of you, and I hope you're very successful. We can afford to replace the smallest bridge in the town of Ellicott.
Yep. Yeah. So,
Your gratitude and your feelings are greatly. I think that's a wonderful closing note for our Q&As. We're now going to give each of the candidates I think that's a wonderful closing note for our Q&As. We're now going to give each of the candidates an opportunity to give you some closing remarks. And just to help guide them in that, there was a wonderful final question in here that was, what is your vision for the town of Fluvanna? And if you need any guidance in your final question, I think that's a great place to go. So we'll start right from the top. Todd, just 90 seconds, sorry, 90 seconds you'll each have to give your closing statements.
All right, my vision on Fluvanna area is obviously that park is #1 priority to me. That needs to be done because when we were at that other meeting with the organization down here, it was appalling to that. I couldn't understand why the town wouldn't accept this. They won't even talk to these folks. But I want to get back to some transparency things. I'm a big advocate for public safety. As you probably can tell or read about, whether it's police or fire service. These folks are the ones that keep our community going. I raised 3 kids with my wife in this community in the town of Ellicott. All 3 of those kids graduated from Falconer. I've seen what this township is starting to do. It's starting to go downhill. It's not good. We got to get it back. And #1 will be the park. Okay. Now, Miss Bowman mistakenly stated here about a month or 2 ago that she was going to meet with Mayor Sundquist in the city of Jamestown to absorb our police department. She was questioned on that. And now she's starting a two-step. Well, we've done some research and she has reached out to the sheriff's office. She has reached out to Lakewood Bustag Police Department to do away with our police department. We as a group have confronted her on this and she has now, I don't want to say she's rescinded this. She has now not been able to have a meeting with Mayor Sundquist until probably after the election. So these are things that people need to know. I want our police. Now, every police officer, every police agency in the country right now is going through a shortfall of manpower. All right. The media did their job several years ago. I get it. Everybody's short. Do we need to sit down with Jamestown and talk? Hey, how can we make this work? I'm all for shared services. The fire department does mutual aids. The police department currently does mutual aids. I call them the chiefs and the Indians. The Indians know how to work together. Okay. But it's the chiefs that kind of butt heads. I mean, if there was a big fire in Fluvanna, I guarantee you, the city of Jamestown would be here. Right, Phil? Yeah. They would be here. That's how it's supposed to work. If the Jamestown Police Department's got a problem, they need our guys and gals' help, by all means, they should go. But we are not going to get rid of our police department. I'll go to my grave with it. I paid. Just wish you guys get out the vote coming up here in a couple weeks. Do you have a quick question?
I just wondered what police department. I didn't-
Town of Ellicott. Town of Ellicott. I just wish you folks get out the vote here in a couple weeks and see what happens. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Todd. Next, we'll have Adrienne to talk about, to give her final comments.
Again, thanks for hosting us tonight. I'm gonna be honest, I'm completely out of my comfort zone. I'm more the executor of a plan. You give me something, plan to work on, I'm gonna make sure that that goes, without a hitch. Let's see, I am a fourth generation, area resident. My grandparents, my great grandparents, my parents, my children all still live here, work here. So I have a lot vested. When I was approached a couple of months back and asked to run, I thought you all were crazy. But the more I dug in, the more it's important that we get involved. We need the community involvement to go back to what we used to have. So get out there and vote November 7th. Vote for myself and our group here. Share our vision with our open government, transparency, accountability, and accessibility. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adrienne. Justice Gerace, please, your closing remarks.
Thank you, thank you. The courts, the justice courts are the closest courts to the people. And we're a very important entity in our communities. And we cannot compromise that level of justice at that point. We're at a critical point in our in the criminal justice system now, with a lot going on with mental health, drug addiction, drugs, crime has risen. We need the support of our public safety. We need the support of our courts. And we can't compromise that right now. And I have always, my position has always been, if you have questions about the court, if you have, come in and sit down. Our courts are open to all of you and to the community to come in and see what we're doing, to ask questions. We often have school groups come in as part of their government classes to ask us about what we do as, one of the 3 levels of government. And we're always, I love to talk to groups. So like I said earlier, I'm committed. I continue to be committed to this position. We have a lot more hard work to do. And I look forward to serving you the next 4 years as your town justice in the town of Ellicott. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Justice Gerace. Next up, James, if you'd like to give your closing remarks.
You have a minute and a half. I just want to say, as far as the vision for Fluvanna, I went to that fun meeting and you'll notice, I don't know if you did notice or not, but we travel as a team. This is Lamantia's area. We all travel as a team, put out the text, we're down here. Because we work well as a team together. It's just not, oh, that's not our ward. We're not gonna worry about that. We support each other. That's what I like about being a member of this team. Secondly, conflict of interest. I raised the level of, I know Marilyn Fiore-Nieves Lehman also, and known her for quite a few years. And I raised that at a town board meeting. There's a conflict of interest. You were part of the team that sued the town of Ellicott, the village of Falconer, and Falconer School District. And now you're the town attorney. I raised that during a meeting on the record. And I was told that, well, she doesn't participate in anything to do with the annexation talk. Well, when we left, a concerned resident we all noticed that she remained in the room during when they went in to talk executive session about that topic. And then she was called on it, like, what are you still doing in here? You're talking about the annexation. You shouldn't be in the room. Well, she's not going to participate in that. She's going to participate in another discussion regarding a code enforcement officer opening. Well, here's the thing I want to share with you. It's not what we feel as elected officials, what looks like a conflict of interest. It's what the public feels as a conflict of interest appearance. That's what we have to be cognizant of. If you feel there's a conflict of interest, then there's a conflict of interest. It might not even be real. The appearance of a conflict of interest. That's what public officials, public servants have to respect and be careful of. Not what they think is a conflict of interest, what the public does. And in this situation, I don't think that was given enough respect as far as the town board meeting. It was an obvious connect the dots conflict of interest appearance that left us wondering what the heck are they doing? So, right. Thank you.
Thank you, James. David, your closing remarks.
There's so much more we need to talk about here, time. And I hope that on November 7th, you bring all of us in, because we work well as a team. We've come this far as a team, and if we are all sitting in that office, we can do a lot of good for the town. One small thing I'd like to bring up, though, is something that the current group really wanted to skirt around, is that we can offer local volunteer firemen 10% off their property tax. And this is something the current group wants nothing to do with. And I mean, volunteer firemen are essential, absolutely essential. And it's a thankless job. They're on call 24/7. They get paid nothing for it. Why can't we offer this to them? Well, get us in and we will certainly make that improvement. So think about us on November 7th.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dave. Now, a minute and a half, Stephen, if you'd like to make your closing remarks.
Well, to start with, I'd just like to thank everybody for this opportunity to get up here and talk and answer these questions. I would also like just to add to some of the comments already about the open government. At a board meeting, if you asked a question that they didn't want to address, they would look over and either the attorney or one of the board members said, well, wait a minute, we got to go into executive session. So we'll just talk about it there. So it seems to be a common denominator. If you ask questions that they don't want to talk about, it goes to executive session and you never hear about it again. So I just want to leave those thoughts with you. Again, when it comes to election day, tell your family, friends, we're about open government, transparency, and keeping our police department. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Daniel, your closing remarks.
All right, just like everybody else has said, I really appreciate you guys coming out and joining our event here. And as Steve mentioned, please tonight, hopefully take home, shoot what you've kind of learned about us, about what we're for. Talk to your family, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors. We have some tremendous resources, obviously, from our side, website, renewellicott.com, a Facebook page. We also have the Stand for Safety page talking about issues related to criminal justice in our community. There will be additional great resources to seek out and share with your fellow neighbors and community members. But just thinking about the idea of a vision for the future, something that I really am passionate about in my current job in education. In fact, to kind of reiterate what Adrienne mentioned, I had no expectation going into this year to ever run for public office. In fact, I currently, and it started at the beginning of the year, re-enrolling at SUNY Fredonia to pursue education administration, which I'm currently taking classes on. And even earlier today, the class that I'm in right now on school law has a lot of overlap, right? Really reflects back on the values of the Constitution. I always think of those three first words. Being the history teacher, it's always about we the people. And that really should be kind of the centerfold of the conversations and thinking about making this a great place to live in my hopes for the next 50 years plus, just like many residents I've talked to. But it's always important to remember the pillars of our community. Obviously, you know, my affiliation with the school, I view that as a pillar of the community. The fire departments, obviously, in their service to protecting the public safety, are a pillar of the community. Our police force, our court, and its institutions are pillars of the community that we have to work together and take part in. And that is why this group, with no expectation of running for these offices this year, have decided to roll up the sleeves to come and work for you and get the job done that you guys deserve to have the job done right way. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. And Kurt, your closing remarks, if you please.
I think we have a collective vision of engaging with the communities. We want to solicit input to make better decisions than are being currently made. I'm a big guy in forming partnerships and relationships. I'm in labor relations, so I'm the management guy. I work with unions, but we've been able to work professionally, although we're on different sides of the table. So that's what I bring to the table, frankly, is the knowledge that, hey, although we have some differences, we can find common ground and work together. There's a common sense approach and solution to the bridge issue, but to figure that out, we have to talk to the neighbors on each side of the bridge and see how they're going to be affected. I don't know if that's happened yet. As attorneys, Thomas, you know this, if you're in a jam, you ask for an extension. You ask for more time. It's not very difficult. You ask for help when you need help, when you see that you're in trouble, when you're in over your head. These are part-time positions. So mine would be a part-time position at the county legislative level, but they're full-time people at the county. They've been down this road before. So I think I'm the guy that has the ability, 19 years of experience in county government, to ask the right questions, to try to hold people a little bit more accountable, to have a sense of we're in this together, you know? Let's have a sense of pride and belonging. I want to have the feeling that we have a sense of pride and belonging to Fluvanna, to West Ellicott, to Celeron, Falconer, the county as a whole, state of New York. So we're a small part of being able to form better communities, better quality of life. It's going to take a little bit of work, but I think you've got people up here who have a significant amount of experience and certainly passion and the right initiatives and the right motives to run for their respective offices. So this has been an incredible night. Thanks so much for Thomas, Rick, everybody involved, the fire department for letting us enjoy their facility tonight. Safe travels home tonight, and thanks so much. Get out to vote.
Thank you so much. And of course, a big thank you to all of you for coming out this evening. Otherwise, these candidates would just be talking to themselves up here. But the important thing is for us to have these conversations, right? So that you have an opportunity to kickstart these discussions. And based on what I've heard from these candidates today, I think that it's all the more important that you as a community, regardless of where you fall on election day, that you have these discussions, that you're engaged on these issues in your community, and that you have people who are willing to start those discussions for you here today. So thank you to everybody. Thank you to all of the candidates, of course, for joining us this evening. And of course, thank you to the Fluvanna United Neighbors, I couldn't
Yes.
think of it, for putting this together, and of course, for inviting me to moderate. Thank you so much, Ricky.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know about all of you, but I want to go vote right now. You're ready to. Oh, question, yes. Sandra, yes. 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 Thank you, and I'm going to tell you that right now. That's an excellent question. So the question was, for those of our neighbors and our friends and our family, as we've been encouraged to so do, to have them come out and get educated and to vote, how can they find a copy of this video online? We have recorded this session. It will be on the FluvannaHistory.com website. So Fluvanna, FLUVANNA history.com website. It will be available there. We're also going to post that on YouTube as well. So when you go to that link, you'll see it on our YouTube page, and it will be there where you can go from there. For anybody interested in joining the neighborhood association, it's nonpartisan. It's here to help support everybody, but really get the community engaged and activated. So Fluvanna's United Neighbors, there's more information on the website about that. Also in the back of your booklets, you'll notice on the very last page, page 19, there's a QR code. You can just go to the website as well too, but we want your feedback on this, not just the Historical Society, but Fluvanna's United Neighbors, the fire department, the library, the church. They were all coming together to help sponsor us. We want to know how this format went. What other things would you guys be looking for? So this survey here at the end will help us know what you wanted to, where you want us to go from here. We do want to thank, as we said already, the candidates. You guys really have served us, so well by coming here. It speaks volumes that you just show up. So thank you. Thank you for that. For you, the public, that you show up, and we need to get other citizens engaged in this as well too. So we're glad to hear that. November 7th. Is the key date. That is election day, Tuesday, November 7th. If you're not registered to vote, you're not sure if you're registered to vote, you don't have to belong to a party. I know Roxanne, right? They have voter registration information at the library. If I'm not, I was just down the other day and I saw it in the corner. Yes, yeah. So the library can help you get registered. Happy to help you with those type of things as well too. And last, but certainly not least, thank you so much, Tom. He did an excellent job. Did you already think as our moderator? Really true. We're very proud of you. Finally, online, we had people that were also talking with us. Marianne did mention some information about the bridges, and it's about the footage. So if anything over 20 feet was what we were told, the county can help out with. Anything less than 20 feet, it's considered a culvert, and it's up to the town to deal with. So we're going to definitely, though, work with all the different officials, all the different candidates to see what we can do. Your voice matters. Make sure to tell everybody to vote on November 7th. Thank you.